Welcome to live answer time for January 31st, 2026. Hello, Steve. Hello, Glenn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello.
Howdy, guys.
I hope everyone is warmer than I am because it's another crappy frozen day here in Dallas.
But it's sunny there, right?
Sunny, but it's still frozen.
We're starting to get snow today, so.
Yeah, that's grim. I imagine that you're in North Carolina or South Carolina?
South Carolina.
Yeah, I imagine that's a rare thing there also.
It is.
Is it like a complete transportation catastrophe when that happens there?
Not too bad unless we get a really rough storm.
Yeah, here everything stops because there's no. They have some sand trucks to put sand on like bridges and stuff, but basically everything stops here when we get a coating of snow. Well, what's new in Animation Masterland? My grandest achievement for the week has been getting Animation Master running again on John Lemke's computer.
Yeah, I read that.
He has a Windows on ARM computer, so he doesn't have an Intel or AMD processor. And eventually we just kept trying versions until we found something that worked. So going back to version 15, still worked on that because it's I guess it's all running in emulation. Somehow.
I used 15 for so long.
I still have it. It's about 10 times slower than what we have now, but if it runs, it runs. And it still runs the setup machine.
It does run slower, but with the new machines today, it runs a lot faster than when we first got 15.
Yeah, that's true. Everything is better today.
I've been working on Gerstner Waves.
Can you show us anything?
Absolutely.
Good, let's see it.
But I don't want to take up all the time today like last week.
Well,
so
let's do a
I'll
survey here. Who else has an Animation Master problem or question that we should address today?
My stuff can wait for Robert.
Okay, sounds like we have a cleared deck, Kevin.
Are y'all familiar with a Gerstner Wave?
I've
I'm sure y'all are.
I've all I know is the name. I have no idea what it is. So tell us about it.
Have y'all ever heard of the game Sea of Thieves by chance? It's a AAA platform game.
As I've said before, I haven't played a video game since Frogger. So.
Well, it has water that is like next to none.
Okay.
And of course, they've got people working on it that are top rated as well. But anyway, let me see if I can share my screen here.
Yep.
Do I need to go to the window? I always have to ask this question. I apologize.
I think it's easier to share the entire window rather than just a program.
Okay, let me go to.
Or share the entire screen is what I mean.
Let me share that. Can y'all see my screen?
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
This is how a Gerstner wave works. You know, we worked on sine waves.
Yeah.
Last week, and the basically the CPs would go straight up and down. Correct.
Right.
With a Gerstner wave, it works in a circle.
Ah.
So what happens is, and I set this up so I could show how it works.
Okay.
Basically, I just made a sphere, these circular models, right?
Okay.
Just to kind of show, and each one of these bones controls a CP at the end.
Oh.
And instead of going straight up and down, this works in a circular motion. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has that characteristic little pointy thing at the top.
Right. And so what happens is, instead of having, you can see where these splines kind of get squished and stretched a bit. So what happens in this pattern, it works in a pattern. And so you get that wave action. If I run it, you can kind of see it. And it's just a basic loop. And y'all can see how the bones are controlling the splines. And each one of those bones controls all the CPs that go in that direction, okay?
Okay.
Now, when you get complicated with this, you want to come the other direction at the same time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So you don't want a wave that just comes just one direction. You want it to come the other as well.
You want intersecting waves.
Correct. So let me open up this project. All right. Now you can see I've got this set up here. Let me see if I can run it. I hope I've got this set up correctly.
Hi, Chuck.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
We're looking
Hello.
at waves.
Okay, so in this version, I've also got this wave working this way, so you can see these circles are here as well, right?
Okay.
However, well, let me leave that up a second. I'm sorry. Now this is going to bring it the other direction. So you've got waves working the other way as well.
Yeah.
Okay. But you've also got the splines coming together the opposite direction and stretching out as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the CPs are not just moving up and down, they're actually moving left to right. And if I show you this from the front, every one of these bones here that are coming the opposite direction are actually moving and parented to this bone so that they're actually moving left to right. Let me show you that.
Okay.
See how they're all moving left
Yep.
to right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But at the same time, they have their own circle. They have their own circle coming the other way. They're working also. You see that?
Yeah.
How they're also going that direction.
That's very effective.
So, when it really gets complicated is when you have to go vertically. When you have to go not only
Diagonally, you mean?
you have to go with a diagonal direction. so yeah. Let me open up my vertical. Okay. So now I've set up spheres that are working this direction as well. This is when it gets wonky. And the problem that I'm running into with this is just knowing which direction these things need to go in. But you can see this little bone chain here?
Yeah.
I left this in here just to show you how all of these things are parented on top of each other. So now you're getting directions both diagonally, and you
Yeah,
can see these splines diagonal are going left and right as well. So they're stacked on top of each other.
I'm almost getting seasick.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
That's
So then you actually have this where it's working correctly,
Mm-hmm.
but it can get very complicated.
yeah. The diagonal is the one I'm not sure I quite understand yet.
Well, it is.
Is the diagonal a child of that?
It's the child of the second level.
Okay, and the second
these
level is the
bones.
child of the first.
Right. And you
Okay.
could stack if I wanted to go also vertically the other direction, because this is just if I wanted to go the other direction, I'd have to do a fourth stack,
Right.
Yeah.
which you can tell this gets really crazy. And there's more than 1 million ways you could probably do this,
Right.
but all
Problem
to say,
solved.
all to say, if you put some time into this, I would think it would be possible to be able to lengthen these bones in every level, where you could reduce the amount of effect it has on the wave. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, you could make a pose slider that shortens the bone.
Right. And you could do that on every level potentially, and you could make it where you could increase the size to basically have some kind of a wave system that would operate driven by vertexes or CPs. And that's-
I presume that you want to be able to shorten or lengthen those systems independently of each other, because if you
That's
shorten or
correct.
lengthen the main parent, then everything beneath that shortens as well.
Right. You'd have to counteract that somehow, maybe. I don't know.
The
but I
way
haven't really.
the way you could counteract that is, instead of making a bone a child, you constrain it.
That's what I'm doing currently.
To the tip. Oh, okay. So then you should be able to size them independently.
That's right. That's right. So let's say I know in a Gerstner Wave system, they have smaller waves on top of larger waves. Does that
Yeah.
make any sense?
Yeah.
And so my question would be, you'd still have to make it a tileable thing, or you'd have to have it working on a mesh that would be. You wouldn't have to have it tremendous, but it would need to be a decent size.
It'd be cool if there was a wizard that could set this up for you.
I know it. Wouldn't that be cool?
If only
Because
someone.
it does have a pattern.
If only any of us knew how to write plugins for Animation Master. This is.
Does this make any sense, y'all? I'm so sorry.
It does. It does. But it's very intensive in the fact that if you want to, the way you're doing it now, if you wanted to, say, have a 4 times that big, two patches that you have to have you have 4 times as many bones now, because unless you redo the bones just for the object that's 4 times big.
Well, theoretically, I would think you could parent the CPs to the bones in a base model. Does that make any sense?
Depends on what you mean.
In other words, the first set of bones could potentially affect a larger scale model, more CPs.
Yes, but
by cloning those.
But how do you? But for example, the leading edge there on your lower right, okay, which is I think is your first level. That is it not? The lower left side of your screen there.
It's very complicated. It's very complicated.
Well, whichever one is your first level that you have the bones controlling. Because you said the next one is the other direction is then not parented, but
this would be the first level.
Right.
Okay.
So now, in order to make this bigger with more splines in the left to right widthwise, you have to put in more bones.
Is repeating this cycle enough, Kevin?
Believe it or not, the CPs are actually being controlled by that top level. Those bones right there, when I add in the vertical, only the vertical is controlling any CPs at all. And so, forgive me because I'm not the best teacher and explainer of this. I apologize.
No.
But on the first level, if you just have this model running this way,
right,
those bones are controlling those splines and CPs. However, when you get to the next level coming across, all of those CPs are controlled by bones that are being controlled by this base.
Right, but you have a bone for each line of each spline in the other direction is tied to the motion of the.
So basically, you need as many for 2 levels of motion. This level and the next level of motion, you need basically as many bones as there are CPs. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
that is correct.
Because each one of these vertical lines we're looking at will have a bone for each of its CPs.
That is correct.
And each of those vertical lines will have its own set of bones.
That's correct.
Okay.
But once you get to that vertical level, however many levels you go, the very highest level is actually the only bone that's controlling.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, so as far as could this be done by a wizard? Yes, because it is such a mathematically predictable process.
I would think so.
Yeah, I would say definitely. But you're almost back. You're almost back to where you were where you had a bone on every intersection of the CPs.
Yeah.
Which
there are mathematical. I guess it would be C++ formulas that do this automatically in these other systems that are building, like in the Unity, not Unity, but what's Unreal Game Engine.
Okay.
And
I'm sure.
and in Unity, but those are completely different platforms. And so you could also do it like Robert was saying last week. I mean, a texture would make what you're doing as well. But with a texture, you're going to have the problem of there's no real, it's not really a physical thing in a way. I mean, you could have a single patch and have an image that would work the same way.
Right. Let's see if there's a. So what's the deal breaker right now for what you're doing? Is it's just the number of bones?
There's no deal breaker. I mean, it's working. What I'm doing is working. The only thing I have is creating a water surface or a fluid surface that has some kind of controllability. If that makes any sense.
When you say, well, what's the control you want that you don't have right now?
Well, if I'm just working, in two directions, it's not really going to give me a surface unless I put a really good texture on it, or if I stacked something like what y'all are talking about, like if you took this model and had it running and you also had like an animated texture.
I think you would need an animated texture on this just for fine detail to make the thing look a little bit more random. Not that it's going to displace the surface necessarily very much,
right,
but to just add a little bit of those sort of randomized ripples that don't seem to be going anywhere but are always there.
Correct.
In the body of
correct.
water. But that's a different issue from getting this mechanics to work. So I mean that's something you would add after you've got this working.
Right.
Now,
so potentially you could do two directions, and then you could add something in, kind of like what Charles Babbage did. Where he had the animated texture on the top that had like the what was the wave animation he created?
Yeah, I don't remember actually.
It worked in two directions, like the X and Y directions, and you would animate a texture, and then that texture you would put a displacement map on it. Or was it a displacement map, or was it a different kind of map you put
Well,
on
it could be either. If it's a very small texture you want, it could be a bump map. If you actually want some shape changing, then it would be a displacement map. But they're they're both kind of applied the same way, and you'd probably use these. I think it's like an FBM combiner, some kind of noise combiner that gives that kind of effect.
Correct. So I guess you could stack that on top of this. But
yes,
it's very hard to make those animated textures. It takes a long time to get it where you need it, because it's got to go in a certain direction. It's got to be at a certain speed.
Well, once you find the scale that looks right, it's easy to animate that. I think it's just sort of like making a constant movement through the surface of your model.
Yeah.
But that's a last step, and you're really worried now about these first, second, and third steps to get all these bones moving right.
Correct.
And when you say about control, you're actually talking about having like different wavelengths. Right now, I see this whole span as one wavelength. It's one cycle from left to right.
Right. So let's say you didn't want this wave to be this high.
Yeah.
And you wanted every level to be able to be controlled, where say you could take this bone and.
Have you implemented a slider that makes this thing smaller?
I guess you could. You could lengthen these bones what you needed them to be.
Because that would be easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but at random places, like at places where it wasn't so uniformed, where because it will have a pattern. If not, it will have a recognizable pattern. But you could throw in like random areas where it would be a little bigger, smaller, and it would move over time.
It's possible there's an expression that could randomize those results.
Like that's a bigger that looks wonky, but
right.
But I mean,
still, it's kind of cool. I remember a long time ago I saw someone was demonstrating wave motion in a tank. It was like an aquarium, or a really long aquarium, and it had a little paddle at one end that would force a wave along there, and he had little corks tied to strings along the length of this thing, and you could see that the cork didn't actually go up and down. It went around in a circle motion, much like you were demonstrating here.
Right.
Oop.
Did we lose him?
I just stopped sharing my screen.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, but on that, like you
Y'all,
just
thank you.
showed.
But thank
Go
y'all
ahead.
for looking at that. That's just kind of what I wanted to show.
Well,
And how close?
what's the next problem you have to solve on that, Kevin?
I'm just trying to make something that I could plug into. I've run into this for years, for 20 years. When I create projects, they seem to need water. They seem to need a water surface.
Okay.
And I'm trying to just slowly work on something that I could bring in, that I could tweak and turn into what I need it to do. And I haven't really found anything that was satisfactory, and I'm just trying to work on something that would work, that would look like a fluid surface.
Yeah.
And these things are created in other packages, and I would think that Animation Master could do it. I'm just trying to create a way that I can do it.
Have you tried putting the texture on top of that to see how it would look?
I have not, but I think it would be, I think even if you put like one of those foam images with water with foam on it, you'd see where that foam would squish and stretch, and it would look really cool.
Yeah.
Because the way that Gerstner wave works, it emulates the way a real wave would.
I think, what is the scale of that thing compared to your character or the boat that it's in? Is the boat like 1 patch long or 5 patches long, or how?
I would have to look at it. I haven't really crossed them over yet. But I guess if you could scale it up.
I'd be curious to see how that looks with some reflectivity and some, some glossy tone to it.
Yeah, if it was reflecting the sky, that kind of thing. So it's looking like, so it has like a water surface to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I forgive me, I'm working on the mechanics of it. I haven't really gotten to that stage yet.
But the control you don't have yet is you want to vary those different directions independently.
Right.
But it sounds like, well, can we go back to looking at that again? Can you share your screen again?
Yeah. Let me get my stuff up here.
Yeah, and when you were showing varying, for example, the one spline, you don't want to necessarily vary the one spline all the way to infinity of your model of the surface, right? You're saying like maybe sections of it also.
There might be a range from like 0 to 2 that would scale, like 0% to 200% is the most you'd want to change.
Yeah, I would imagine and now forgive me because I realize that, making Sea of Thieves water in Animation Master is probably going to require a crazy amount of doing, but basically just trying to see it as in levels. Like if you look at levels of the way those water shaders work, there's a lot of little ripples coming this way and that way, and
right.
But if you can get something down that's a base and you can put it on top of it, put like a texture on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you had both ways, X and Y, and then you had vertical one way and vertical like an X, like a vertical both ways.
By vertical, you really mean diagonal.
Diagonal. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Forgive me. I'm sorry. So also along with diagonal, you would have to have a way also, and I have it. It's very complicated. For me, it has been. But you need this thing to be able to run one way or the other as well.
Yeah.
Like if you have the wave going to the left, you need it also to go to the right, and then you also need to have the in all directions. I guess it would be What would that be? 4 directions?
If you're just talking about so you want it to go east and west, right? You want to be able to have the waves going east and west simultaneously, right?
And north and south.
And north and south. So that's 4 That's 4 wave systems.
And then you want to diagonal both ways.
Yeah.
So 8.
It would be cool if we could make just one system and then turn it to any angle we want and somehow add that to add 2 systems together.
And also at the same time, the speed of everything working where you could change the speed of it.
Right, because you don't want every direction going the same.
Right, and you might want the waves to be going slower or faster.
Right.
Do water waves have a standard speed? I'm wondering.
Well, wind is
No.
a factor,
Yeah.
probably.
I mean,
not a standard speed. No. I mean,
would think not.
Somebody in AM way back in the early 2000s had a process for making ripples. So when you drop a stone in a bit of water, how you get circular rings going out. And they had one where you could start one here, and then you would see them expand from 2 locations and the interplay of the 2 ripples. I don't remember who did that.
Well, you know what's really cool is you could set this same system could be set up with a circular model, like a flat circle instead of a square. And all of those ripples could come out on however many splines you wanted them to come out at the same time from every direction. So you could actually set this up that way as well.
Yeah, but that would be problematic in that if you use circular splines, and that now your center of the ripple is fixed, and you'd have to slide the whole. You have to slide.
Yeah, it would just be one direction.
The whole thing in order to have it would only be one level,
right?
Or one layer that you could have it going out from. But to get to interplay, the other thing that comes to mind is how close. How close are you expecting to be able to come, or do you want to come? And when you're way far out, a boat on an open sea, you obviously don't need the detail, and to use the same complex mechanics for a big open sea shot, as opposed to a close-up where you see the boat rocking in the water, and you see it going against the side of the boat, would be different than if you're going to be way out.
Right. I guess that would get into the issue of how much geometry would you need to cover the space you needed to, right?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think you'd need at least 2 different sets of something for a distance shot that gets you something there, but then you have something like this, more detail, so that you could see up closer. When you envision it closer, you could have more actual physical detail of it going up, as opposed to having, I want that. I want it to be accurate no matter where I'm shooting from. Well, you can do that, but now your resources are just.
This is where the procedural texture becomes useful, because that has sort of infinite range, and you can zoom into infinite detail if you wish.
Yeah, so once you got the motion that you needed that looked as closely as you needed, and you could calm it down where it would, you could have calm water as well, but it would still be rough.
Okay.
If we could make this motion as muscle motion instead of bone motion, it would be easier to combine different directions, because muscle motion in a action will be additive. Let me show you what I was working on last week as far as doing this with pose sliders instead of bones. So that means I have to find this thing.
And since you were only dealing with the basically up down y-axis.
Yeah, it won't be as interesting a wave motion as you have there, Kevin.
You could, with the muscle motion, you could do it in a circular motion, as opposed to a linear up down motion also.
Let's see
Or-
here.
Did I do it right? Did I stop sharing correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. Well, let me see if I'm not sure I found the correct one, but we'll give it a gander here. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
I have made, this is a, let's see. Okay, this is my basic patch here. And I've made two actions. One, this one has waves that are 5 patches long, and they go east to west. And this one has patches, let's see here. Patches are waves that are 9 patches long, and they go in this direction instead. So there's 2 independent actions that have the waves going in different directions. If I add one of these, let's see. I'll do it to this one. I'll add the 5 patcher. And I need to make that repeating, so I'll give it 10. So, those are repeating waves, I think we would agree. Now I'll add the 9. That one is out here. So here we have the 5s and the 9s. If I move this in like that so that they're overlapping, and I guess I've got to make it repeat. Let's do that, 7. And I have to change this one to add. Let's see if we have 2 here. Okay, there. So now we have 2 waves in 2 different directions.
At different periods.
Yeah, different periods, different wavelengths.
Wavelength.
And we could also, we have the option of playing around with the cycle length in each of these to make them move faster or slower. And I haven't found an easy way to do this, but let's go look at here we go. So these are the waves. They are made infinite by using pre-extrapolation and post-extrapolation. And if I wanted this particular wave to be in greater intensity or less intensity, I can scale them in the action, like so.
So you couldn't put that on a slider?
Perhaps I can. I hadn't really thought of it because I hadn't gotten far enough to want to do that. I started out with these at like 10, positive 10 to negative 10, which was too much, and so I scaled it down. I think you probably could put this on a post slider, except
Now, if you duplicated that, but in the, what axis is it? That's the x-axis is up and down because it's reference from the bone.
Well, it's the y-axis.
Well, it's, yeah, but is that in the actual properties? Is it affecting the y, or is that the actual bone, which is then the x-axis of the bone, but the y-axis of
well,
the
there's no
world?
there's no bone motion in this. This is all CP motion.
Okay.
So
Well, then
this
you'd have to-
action, let's go
Yeah.
back to look at the For example, let me make my CP smaller. Oops, I need control points. Okay. Let's look at the model itself. Has a set of pose sliders. So each one of these controls a row of CPs in the X direction. And each one of these controls a row of CPs in the Z direction. And let's just take a look at one of these. And I need to get back my... There we go. Okay. So, for example... Let's I don't want to make any keyframes here, but remind me to revert this or something. Let's see. This one slider controls the vertical motion of that set of CPs.
Right.
And so when you stagger these, they're up and down, you know, waving back and forth like that, you get the wave motion. That's not set. There we go.
You set up each of those individually, Robert?
Yeah, that didn't take long, maybe a couple of hours.
That looked like a lot of work.
It's, well, you know, compared to doing bones,
Yeah.
I think a lot. Now, the question is, how could we make this do circular motion instead of merely up and down motion? I think there's a way.
Yes.
If I had another slider, okay, so for example, this slider does vertical motion, and if I had, this one is called Z00, if I had a Z00B that goes like that, and then...
So you could set up that circular Gerstner type circle in there?
By carefully manipulating the horizontal and the vertical, and it wouldn't have to be, basically it'd just be a sine wave on each one, but they'd be in opposite phase, and so it appears to be going in a circle.
Oh, okay. That seems complex.
Let's try that.
My brain would do that.
Let's try a simple case of that, and let's just see if it's really possible. We got time here. Chuck, did you have an Animation Master problem or question you needed to address before we run out of time here?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, let's make a simpler model. So, and I'll make a grid. And let's make it, I'll make it just 5 by 5 or 4 by 4. No, let's make it 5 by 5. And it's on XZ, so that'll be horizontal. Here we are looking over on top. Okay, let's pick one of these. Oh, I need a new pose slider. And I'll go to muscle mode. And I'll pick this one here. And let's do the, let's call this, does it matter which one I do? Should I do this one at the very end? Let's do this one here. So that's 0, 1, 2. And that's in the X direction. X 0, 2, we'll call this vertical. We'll do the vertical motion first. Okay, and I'm going to set this to have a minimum of -100, so I can go both above and below. So there's our 0, here's our 100, and it's this CP. I'll move this, let's say this is maximum here. I think that would be, however, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say, I'm guessing that 4 would be the most we'd want to go up, since 4 would be the same distance to there. But let's go to 5 just in case. So I'll turn on my snap to grid and I'll tap this up.
It's really stormy weather.
Yep. And we can probably, well, I'm sure there'll be a way to scale this later. Okay, so that's our upward motion. And now, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's our vertical component. And if we did that to all of them and then staggered their up and down, you'd have the wave motion that you've seen previously in this thing. But we want to combine both vertical and horizontal motion. So we'll close this. We'll go make yet another new pose percentage. And we'll call this, rename, X02H. And it's this one. Let's, I need to do my settings again. To set this to -100. Okay. For our positive, I'm going to say that positive is going out to the right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yes, I know that's exceeding the next CP.
But it won't be in that place during its phase when it's rotating. So
we hope. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's our complete vertical motion or horizontal motion. Now, we'll make yet another pose slider that controls both of those, I think. Let's see here. Or maybe I don't need to do that. Can I do this in an action? Let's try an action. I should name this thing. Rename. Start an action, pick my model, and I've got two pose sliders here. So if I do these in simple sine wave motion and then offset them, I should get a circular motion.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if that's actually true. Here's my action. And I really only need to keyframe the peaks. So let's want to change my spline color so it is more visible. Let's make it okay, there we go. How long should it take? Should it take 2 seconds for that to do its thing, or 1 second? We'll see here. This one all the way over. Okay, so that's the starting point. And then at 1 second, they'll go to their opposite magnitude. And then they'll return at 2 seconds. So our action now is just a diagonal motion, but it is a cycle. If I move one of these and offset it, let's make this a little bit more continuous. by selecting these and doing curve, post-extrapolation, repeat. And now we should have continuous motion here. Yeah, okay, so that'll continue infinitely. Now, here comes the tough part. Let's see, I guess I move it like so. There we go. There's circular, almost circular motion. Let's see. Oh, I have peaks on my, yeah, okay. I need to 0.
Yeah, interpolate.
Slope that one, and 0 slope this one. And now we should have something pretty close to that. Ought to be an exact sine wave, but I'm not sure if it is or not. But it's pretty damn close. So now, let's see what we got here. Let's look at it from the side. That looks like circular motion to me.
Yeah.
Now, if I scaled these down, I think we would get, I want both of those. We would get, it wouldn't be overlapping the,
Yeah, that kind of distorts how it looks because
yeah.
it went half.
And perhaps there's a way to do it, make a post
Well,
slide to control this
Kind
generally.
of looks like a wave breaking almost.
Yeah, that's probably what happens.
Flat.
So let's move this down to 50. Whoops, this is the part I hate. Okay, how did I lose that? Okay, let's move this one up to negative. What have I done here? Okay. That's interesting. Okay. I have no idea where I am now. Let's see if this actually gets us. There we go.
You've lost me a little bit.
Okay, well, tell me what doesn't make sense.
Well, it makes sense, but just as a lot of this stuff, I understand bones and CPs and stuff, but some of the other things you do, I don't normally work with those functions, so. But I've got it. I can understand it enough to kind of see where you're at.
So now we have circular motion on that spline, and it's in an action. So if we did the same thing with circular motion on a spline like that, we could make those two add together.
Would that make vertical easier, Robert? Or I'm sorry, horizontal. Would that make or diagonal? I'm sorry,
it would.
Diagonal.
You wouldn't have to have those bones that are children of bones that are children of bones.
No, the diagonal though.
Would
is
it work
diagonally? Because you don't have splines, you have to take every CP diagonally.
Oh, you mean the diagonal? Well, let's try it. See what happens. I think it would be pretty much the same motion.
Because you're selecting CPs with your muscle mode, not spline. It just happens to be that every
right.
CP you
but
grabbed was on a spline.
There's nothing stopping me from selecting like that.
Right. So yeah, so you could be, or even at a 32 degrees, you could find out what it was and select.
Yeah.
Roughly.
So if it did work diagonally, because when it comes to ocean or fluid waves, it needs those diagonal directions. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and I think in real life there probably is no law that they're all at 45-degree angles. From
Right.
Depends on the currents flowing and the wind directions, and then you get a wind from a different direction. And you get
by having,
but
by having this wave motion as an action made with muscle motion, it's possible. It's easy to scale it. It's easy to scale the motion, and it's easy to change the frequency by changing the length of the action in the core. And I'd say everything that you want to do is doable this way. The only the only real hassle is you had to make a slider for horizontal and a slider for vertical for each set of CPs. But I think that early penalty would pay off in simplicity later on.
Correct.
Does that make sense, Kevin?
Yes. And do you think it would be a tileable situation, Robert?
Well, this is something we were talking, or Glenn and I were talking about. I forget when we were doing it because we were here last week. But
if I hear Glenn correctly, he seems to think you're going to run into a lot of problems, and I can see that.
Not for grabbing that, but you won't have what you were wanting is where you don't want it. You don't want this wave portion like you have here to continue on indefinitely along that spline, because you want to be able to vary it. Now the varying, you'd almost have to go into muscle mode and add a few little tweaks here and there over time to make. I don't know how you get, and unless we talked about adding a random, a function,
like some kind of mathematical
on top of the CPs here, where then every CP could randomly have a little bit more or a little bit less.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn off the post extrapolation here.
I get it.
Okay.
If y'all get a chance, look on YouTube and look up Sea of Thieves water system. That's something to look at, to see kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's way more advanced than any of this, but it's built on kind of the same principles.
Notice I'm just copying and pasting this to make repeats. And so what I could do... Okay, right now these are all the same, but I could go and make some of them a little bit less. Vary it. I could just go in here and randomly drag these things around.
I would think to make it easier later, you would need some kind of slider that would randomize that.
You could do that. I think that's also possible. You can have if we had a slider that changed the magnitude of one thing, you could vary that during the course of your animation.
Right.
So that would be possible.
Right. That is all cool, though. I would love to see it working together. Not in a random way, but just the way you were building it originally. I'd love to see like a diagonal and, one way, every direction.
Yeah. Well, I think doing this circular motion with the two sliders, I think that is the answer to not having to use bones. And doing this action, or doing this motion in an action, is the solution to being able to combine these things as you choose at a later point, instead of building it into a bunch of bones.
Right.
So, I mean, if I were you trying to use that Gerstner stuff, this is the way I would go for creating the circular motion. Now, as far as tiling, let's see, how much time have we got here? We've got 7 minutes. What we were thinking of, so right now it's like you're dealing with a 5x5. Oops, that's not what I want. Are you seeing my desktop here?
Yes.
Okay.
I think what they did in Sea of Thieves is they added a randomizer so that there would be no pattern at any one time. I have no idea how they did it.
Okay, as far as tiling, right now you have, and I looked at the previous example you sent me, and it sort of looked like you had randomized the up and down motion. And there's there was 5 bones.
Yes.
And then you sort of randomly assign CPs to those, and that got a very good effect, I thought.
Right.
But to make that, the problem was that this edge doesn't match that edge, and this edge doesn't match that edge, right?
What I had to do is I tiled it in a choreography, and I flipped everything, the whole model to a different axis, and it tiled up that way.
It's sort of a reverse motion.
It did.
The problem is the edge of this acts like a peaked CP.
That's correct.
And so you have a sharp edge wherever those things meet.
So you'd have
what you could do is extend this out. And so this set of CPs does exactly the same thing as this set of CPs. And extend this out. One more set of patches.
My
and
question
copy
is, would that so you're sure that would match up?
Well, hold on. And this set of CPs will match this one, I believe. And so you'll have a set where this patch, these patches match like that. And so if you overlap them, so if you made another copy of this and overlapped it so that the blue on the other patch was overlapping here, that would match. And there would be enough splinage beyond that to carry the curvature over. And then you could use a transparency map to feather the transition between the two.
Yeah. And then
And
the
then
same on
And
the
then you
other
could
edge.
you would do it. You could do that process over on this other side too. After you got that extended a patch direction each, you might actually need to go 2 patches. I'm not sure, but at least one on each side, and then they would overlap. And I think that would get you clean tiling that would not be immediately detectable to the eye in the way that the peak CPs are being detectable.
Gotcha.
That's been very interesting. Thanks for bringing that in, Kevin.
I appreciate y'all looking at it.
Yeah, it
Let's
was really
see.
nice work.
Let's see. Let's watch a cartoon.
Yay, it's cartoon time.
Sure. I'm working on it here. Okay. This will be an awful cartoon. I gotta,
A what cartoon?
a terrible cartoon. This is the
Oh.
Catanooga cats. You see this? Do you hear it?
Nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you like me in my birthday suit? Am I cute in my birthday suit? How do you like me in my birthday suit? I'm just crazy about my birthday suit. Having a party, it's my birthday. Lots of presents for me today. But most of all, I wanna show a present for the boy that loves me so. Tell me, how do you like me in my birthday suit? Am I cute in my birthday suit? How do you like me in my birthday suit? I'm just crazy about my birthday suit. It's divine, it's all mine, it's a beaut, my summer suit, an attraction in any crowd. My birthday suit, it makes me feel so proud. Tell me, how do you like me in my birthday suit? Am I cute in my birthday suit? How do you like me in my birthday suit? I'm just crazy about my birthday suit. How do you like me in my birthday suit? Am I cute in my birthday suit? How do you like me in my birthday suit?
I guess the original title of Do You Like Me Naked did not test well. We're out of time. Good talking to you guys. I'll see you next week.